Good day, everybody. My name is Vasanth. I'm a NEET expert. I have been doing this for almost 9+ years. I always train the NEET aspirants to achieve their dreams. And today we have a topic in mind which we are going to get taught from from the basics. And the topic belongs to class 8, and it is the chapter Reaching the Age of Adolescence. We have a previous video. This is actually a second continuation video of the same chapter. And the previous video, we have covered some of the topics. If you have not seen that video, I would suggest you to see those videos and then come back to this video. Okay. So let's quickly get into the video and then see what are the topics you're going to cover. And then let's get some knowledge. So just allow me a minute. I hope everybody is able to see my screen. Okay. In this chapter, there are lots of things that we are going to study, which will be like majorly about menstrual cycle and what is menarche and what is menopause. And then even we are going to discuss deeply about detail about what is sex determination, how is it done, and what actually makes the sex determination possible, and myths and taboos regarding the reproduction process, and a little introduction regarding human endocrine system. Okay. In this, let's jump into the first topic. Okay. The first topic is menstrual cycle. The first thing is menstrual cycle is called a monthly cycle. M-O-N-T-H-L-Y, monthly cycle. So why is this called a monthly cycle? Because this is going to happen on a periodic basis of 28 days in average. Okay, not everybody is going to have a 28-day cycle. Some people will have more or even less. So that's a monthly cycle. Okay. So now what happens in this case? In the process of reproduction, a female will be going through a lot of process. Female will be going through a lot of process. One will be ovulation. Okay, the next one would be fertilization. After fertilization, it will be implantation. And after implantation, it will be pregnancy. And after pregnancy, it is parturition. And after parturition, it will be nourishment. So in this process, the ovulation is like where the egg is being released from the ovary. So that is the tedious process. And fertilization is only when the sperm from the male gamete literally reaches the female gamete, and then it's deposited into the female first, and then later it reaches the female gamete and then fertilizes. So that's the fertilization process. When the fertilization actually happens, okay, it goes to implantation. So after implantation, pregnancy starts. That's when the child would start to develop. The embryo would start to develop into a child or infant or something. And then after that comes delivery. After the complete pregnancy period is over, the delivery happens. And after delivery, the mother will be feeding the newborn child. So now the process of menstruation is, okay, this happens only when there is a failure of fertilization. Okay. So when can the failure of fertilization happen? Failure of fertilization happens only when the sperm is not available for the egg to get fertilized. So this process literally helps us understand that it is a cyclic procedure. Okay. And that's what makes human female reproductive system literally more complex. So human female reproductive system doesn't produce the gametes only. It also helps in the process of forming and delivering the child. So in this case, what actually happens is the fertilization, upon failure of fertilization, the preparation that the uterus in the female, in the uterus actually does would not progress, will not survive. So it will be shed out of the body. So that such shedding of the uterine layer, which was prepared for the arrival of fertilized egg for the implantation, is shedded off. This shedding is called menstruation. I repeat, menstruation. M-E-N-S-T-R-U-A-T-I-O-N. Menstruation. This menstruation that happens once in life? No. The menstruation happens in a regular basis in life. And when does it start? And where does it start to stop is going to something we are going to see in the upcoming classes. But the point is, this is going to be an average of 28-day cycle, which is mentioned over here. So it is basically divided into 4 different cycles. One is called menstrual phase, it's called bleeding phase. And the second one is called follicular phase. This is where the egg forming or maturing. And this is ovulation phase. This is where the egg releasing and fertilization. So once after the egg is released, it will be available for fertilization. So after the uterus literally doesn't get the signal of whether there is delivery of sperm or not. So the uterus will be started developing. So uterus will start to develop in the luteal phase. That's the 4th phase. So development of uterine wall. So why is the uterine wall developing? So that it can receive the the developing or the embryo. Okay, we can say that. So upon failure, okay, the uterine wall, the preparation that is done in the uterine wall should be shed out. So such shedding happens once after the 28th day. It realizes that there was no implantation. So what helps the realization of implantation? So once after the the implantation happens, it will start to give out the hormonal signals that will stop the menstruation. When that signal is not provided, it is obvious it will progress to the menstrual cycle again. If that signal is received, then the menstrual cycle will be stopped, and then pregnancy will progress. So this is the process of menstrual cycle. And during the process of menstrual cycle, before the menstruation happens, the women will be undergoing a lot of stress and strains, pain during the thighs and then abdominal cramp and everything. So those are called premenstrual syndrome. This is called collective, problems that they get. So that's called as premenstrual syndrome. Okay. So this is about menstrual cycle. So menstrual cycle is a monthly cycle. We call it a monthly cycle or a periodical cycle that happens where upon failure of fertilization and implantation, the uterine wall, which was preparing itself for the implantation after fertilization, will shed. So that's the process. So that's what is called menstrual cycle. It has been complex. Why is it complex? Because it is not controlled by any mechanical tissue. It is just controlled by hormones. So the hormones involve, estrogen and progesterone. Now, when we talk about menstrual cycle, there are several factors which will be involved in this. It's called ovarian changes, uterine changes, and then there will be something called hormonal changes, temperature. So these are the main changes that the body will be undergoing. When it comes to hormonal, there are FSH and LH. And then when it comes to the pituitary, when it comes to the ovarian, then it is the estrogen and progesterone. These are the different changes that the body will be undergoing upon that is involved in the process of menstrual cycle. So you'll be learning about this in detail only in class 10. So let's finish up over here and then we'll go to the next topic, which is Menarche. So Menarche is actually an initiation point. It's an initiation point, I repeat, where the menstruation starts at the age of 12. So from 12 to 50 is when the menstruation is going to happen. That's an active reproductive period. That's an active reproductive period. So that period, starts from adolescent period. That's an adolescent period and then adult period combined together. But after age of 50, the menstrual cycle stops. You'll study about that in the upcoming slide. So Menarche is like the initiation of this puberty. That's when the girl child will be undergoing sexual maturity because of the hormonal changes. when the hormones are going to be modifying the physiology of the body. So it is obvious that the sexual maturity is attained. So once after the sexual maturity is attained by the hormonal signaling, so the body will start the the menstrual cycle. So such starting of menstrual cycle is called menarche. Okay, it's the first menstrual cycle or first menstrual bleeding in the woman. Okay, so in most of the cultures, okay, this is considered to be one of the most important event, to enjoy and then to celebrate and then let people know that that the girl have attained puberty. Just to this is just custom. Okay, some people might think what is there to celebrate? It's a natural fact. Some people, yes. For some people, it is just a custom that they let everybody know and then embrace that the event. Okay, and this is a signaling that the girl have become reproductively active. Okay, and some girls will be having their menarche much sooner possible, and even sometimes later. This all depends on their bodily hormonals and their external environment and their food habit and their mental health and all these things. So all these matters a lot. Okay, so this is about menarche. So the next thing that you need to know about is menopause. Menopause is natural cessation of menstrual cycle of a human being. So what is natural cessation is like? Just like how it is initiated at the age of 12, okay, there will be stopping of menstrual cycle after 45 to 50. So why does this thing happen? Because here I told you, the uterus will be liberating all the destroying all the preparation that is made for the implantation to happen when there was failure of implantation. So that is going to happen on a monthly basis, on a regular basis, and 28 days per year will be almost 13 times. So 13 times per year will be huge number. Don't you think? Huge number. So that is going to cause a lot of destruction and then tissue damage and stuff. So the body cannot take a lot of stress. So that's why the nature itself have understood, and then they have come up to a point where there is a cessation. So body's homeostasis has to be maintained, and to do that, they need to stop the process of deliberate destruction of tissues. So that is why cessation of menstruation takes place. Okay, so this is where you need to understand why menopause actually takes place. I hope you have understood. Let's go to the next topic. The next topic is sex determination. So in human being, there are two distinctive sex. Okay, one is male, another one is female. And in human being, we have a composition of 22 plus X, Y. Okay, we can write it like this. So it could be 44 plus XX. So this is a female individual. Okay, this is the body somatic chromosome, and this here is the sex chromosome. Now, in the case of male, it would be 44 plus XY. Now, during the process of gamete formation, there are possibilities of gamete formation. In the case of female, it would be only one, which is 22 plus X. So that is the only possibility of gamete formation. But in the case of male, there are two possibilities. 22 plus X would be formed, and 22 plus Y could also be formed. So if the egg fuses with the sperm with X chromosome as X chromosome, then there will be a possibility of girl child. Girl child, because 2X will be there. This child is going to be girl. So if the egg fuses with the sperm with the Y chromosome, then there is a possibility of a boy child. So this is what you need to understand. So this is called SRI-Y gene. So this is what is actually going to initiate. All these determination is based on the chromosome composition that is actually present. So this chromosome determines the sex. So if there is going to be X chromosome, it is going to be female. But upon presence of Y chromosome, the Y chromosome will have a gene called SRIY gene. And this gene actually creates a testosterone and anti-Mullerian hormone. Anti-Mullerian hormone is going to, against the formation of female reproductive organ. Okay. When this is failing, okay, there will be, no differentiation, sexual differentiation actually. So which typically ensures that the only testosterone will be influential and Mullerian hormone, anti-Mullerian hormone will suppress the expression of any female characteristics, and that will result in expression of only male reproductive system. So that is why, or that is what is going to determine the sex of an individual. So it is there are two probability of sperms that are produced in male, but in the female there is only one probability produced. So it is the male who is going to determine whose chromosomes are going to determine the sex of the individual. If the chromosome that is going to be fused with the egg is going to be X, then it will be a girl child. If the chromosome, if the sperm which is going to contain Y is going to be fused with the egg, so then it is going to be a boy child. So it is a 50-50% probability. So who determines which gender determines the sex of an individual? It is the father. So that's what you should understand. That's the knowledge that you're acquiring in this case. Okay? So there are several myths and taboos regarding the process of reproduction. So there are lots of cultural ethics, cultural laws that we always follow when it comes to comes in the terms of tradition. Okay, which is considered to be evil spirit when it comes to the menstrual cycle and the sexual reproduction part, which is never spoken outside. This is not happening nowadays, but there are still people who have these kind of thoughts in mind. Okay, so what are the things that we need to look into? Okay, so there are several things which we are going to talk about. One is stay away from kitchen, don't touch the pickle jar, don't enter the temple, please don't touch me, you are so impure. So these are the statements that usually people say, very traditional people, who doesn't have a broader mind, and every other stuff, should be taken care. So now when we go to the, complete understanding, you will understand all of it. So the myth is a menstruating woman is impure, dirty, sick, or even cursed. So that's actually a myth. Why do we say it's a myth? So when you call menstruating people impure, it is just a natural body response with respect to failure of implantation, right? So when the body is actually undergoing or a destructive procedure, when something that is prepared for has not happened, then it is obviously a natural process. So there is nothing to be impure, dirty, or even cursed about. Okay. The next thing is the menstruating women cannot offer prayers, take part in religious ceremonies, is forbidden for touching a sacred object or enter a place of worship. This is actually so I don't know what to say, layman kind of a thing. It's so not even layman. It's so unacceptable. Why is that? Because in the olden ages, in the previous, few years back. So what we have understood is there's no much of personal hygiene. Here we have sanitary napkins and then tampons that is available for women to actually take care of their personal hygiene when it comes to the menstruation period. Okay, so the previous ages, previous ages we are talking about, so they were not having any kind of sophistication like this. So now the science have improvised and made things more easier for them. So now these things are not required. So that's what is more important. So menstruation women should not cook food or even enter the kitchen, as doing so would spoil food items. So it's just that their hygiene is questioned in nutshell. So when the hygiene is questioned nowadays, hygiene is more preferred and it is actually already taken care and all those things. So that is one reason why that's a myth. Okay. Next thing is intercourse with menstruating women spreads sexually transmitted diseases. That's a total myth. Why do I say that? Because it's just that during sexual intercourse during menstruation period. So menstruation period is a totally torturing period. It's so painful. Okay, so just to avoid having sexual intercourse or intimate relationship with a woman during this period should be avoided. So they have framed this thing like this. So just in the case so that the baby will not be, anyway, the baby will not be conceived. Okay. And at that period, the women will be like, utmost irritation because of this menstruation procedure. So just to not to trouble them more, like, to avoid having sexual intercourse, that these things are being told, and again, the person who has actually have sexually carried, sexually transmitted diseases could be transferred. It could be transferred by because they are actually menstruating blood, and when the sexually transmitted disease is actually transferred through bodily fluids. So just to be in the safer side, okay, you should avoid having sexual intercourse during the process of menstruation. And the myth is like, menstruating women, even in the presence of vicinity, they'll spoil the whole thing. This is totally unacceptable. Reason being, like, the menstrual people has nothing to do with this, provided that they have a good hygiene, because they are actually going to handle about human tissue and everything. There is a highest possibility of infection. So now when we take care of the infection part, it is obvious that they will not be having trouble. So that's a myth. That's why that's a myth. The presence of menstruating women will actually spoil the food and fruit, and then hanging from a tree, and cause them drop prematurely. Okay, causing to drop prematurely. So this is like a myth. Why do they say that? Because it is just that it's actually like a understanding. What is it? The temperature. I have told you the temperature that they actually liberate or show in the process of menstruation would be like, will make their body heat so high. So that would actually make the fruits literally go wrong. So that could possibly be. So it is usually that a myth that the fruit could go spoiled and stuff. So it is just that their body temperature increases so much, and there is no such thing as false. That totally false, to be so ridiculous about fruits getting spoiled and stuff. It's just their body temperature increases so much. I hope you understood this. Okay. So next myth is menstruating women should not take bath or go swimming. So this is like a very unacceptable thing nowadays. Why? Because in the previous ages, the people tend to go to a pond or a public bathing place where there is a higher chance of menstruating blood mixing with the nearby water sources, which could actually lead to contamination of the pond. So just to avoid this from happening, this was actually instilled. Now we have our own bathrooms in the house. We can actually have a proper hygiene and manifesting, everything manifested, and then it's obvious that this thing is not required to be done. And swimming is again the same thing, a common water reservoir. So it is suggested not to go for swimming during the process of menstrual period. Okay, so these are the myths and taboos about the menstruation period. Okay, so human endocrine system. So endocrine, we need to know about endocrine. The first thing is endo means inside, and crine means secretion. So here, what do you need to understand over here is the secretions that happens inside our body. It's not outside the body, it happens inside the body. So what do you mean by inside the body? It secretes into the bloodstream. Okay, that's called endocrine. The secretions will not happen outside. So then there is exocrine also. Yes, there is exocrine. That's called exocrine, exocrine, meaning it's outside. Okay, outside secretion. So what is exocrine? Exocrine is sebaceous gland, sweat gland, and mammary gland. All these are exocrine in function. But in the case of pituitary gland, here you go. Pituitary gland, hypothalamus, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, and then adrenal gland, pancreas, testis, and ovary. All these are endocrine glands. Why? Because they all secrete hormones into the bloodstream, and once the hormones reaches the